Divine connection. Divine connection. Divine connection is when God is totally in control. When God is in totally control. When God is totally in control, where the flesh or the flesh realm becomes a tool, a vessel. And that type of understanding is spiritual knowledge, where the Spirit of God has came into one's life to lead them, to guide them. Divine connection is supposed to be an ongoing, regular, basic foundation of a believer's life. There are many believers who have small faith in divine connection or none at all, because they do not or have not been taught you can say the characteristics, the attributes, the fundamental, the in-depth of divine connection. And it's broken down to like really one word: death to self. Dying to the flesh. Dying to flesh allows the spirit of the individual to begin to move and have their being in God. The flesh begins to experience a spiritual authority. It begins to experience this. The flesh begins to experience a spiritual authority. The fruits of God are real. They are God characteristics. They're everything of God. And what binds a person from understanding the divine connection? How is this in their life, and how does it work in their life? Many people have found themselves not leaning totally upon God. Now just think about it. If you totally lean upon God, God is in total control of your life. That means that you are experiencing a divine encounter. A divine encounter in relationship with God. Your walk with God, your talk with God. If a person desires that the flesh may die, this is a great move. Do you understand? This is a great move. If a person is desiring to that God may modify the flesh, modifies the deeds. The deeds are the old person. Even though that you are buried in Christ, even though that you have been buried with Christ and risen, if a person must walk with Christ, that means a person must desire to walk with Christ. If a person wants to hear from God, a person must desire to hear from God. So to hear from God, a person must be conscious. That means conscious, aware that God is speaking, conscious, aware that God is there, conscious that God is leading and God is guiding. That conscience is God's conscience, which means when you begin to die, die to self, the conscience of self begins to experience the trueness of the word, the reality of the word, which is that it has died with self. Died with Christ. Self has died with Christ and risen anew. When it's risen anew, when you are practicing dying to self, death to self, you begin to live in the newness of life. What is the newness of life? It is the ways of the Spirit, which means it reveals the child on his calling that was upon his life, the reasons and the purpose that was on his life, definitely the purpose and the reasons that is upon our life is different. Jesus played a part that we may be sanctified, that we may be made new in the sight of God, that the things of God may be revealed to us, in us, and that it may be revealed to us that is in us. And as we begin to explore the leading of the Spirit, we begin to understand God's instructions. We begin to learn God's instruction. We begin to abide by God's instructions in our life. This leads to straight up divine connection. Divine connection does not come by the way of the flesh, even though it chooses to use a flesh or a place or a thing as a tool, as a vessel, which we have seen so many times in God. We have seen so many times in our life where that someone was used, someplace was used, or we was used. Now, the reason why it's not a continuation of this is because there is a lacking of understanding. That's number one. A lacking of teaching. That's number one. Number two, there has to be a dying to self. There has to be a dying to the person, which means I explain this so much. Oh, I love to explain it. I don't mind. It doesn't matter to me how many times I explain it. I love it. But what I don't love, if a person is not practicing it and they listen to it over and over again. And what's going to happen is Satan is going to make it become like a picture on the wall that don't move. You see, you look at the picture on the wall, you say, man, that is so awesome. I wish I was there in that place. Because you see the peace and you see the serenity in the picture. You see the beauty of the picture, but you can only imagine. And it's not an experience. So that's what happens to people. Satan will create an imagination. He will exalt that imagination because they're not practicing. He exalts that imagination to the point where they will wish they was there. Then they will begin to speak it. They begin to speak the same words. They begin to live by the words, and they begin to express those words. And in many, many different ways. I wish I should have. I could have. When the experience of God is more real than the experience in this world. The experience of God, or experiences of God, is more real than your immediate experience in this world. Is more real. That is so powerful. That is so powerful. So powerful. That is so powerful. The reason why people is trying to teach you or tell you or trying to give you some type of understanding of receiving prophecy or in the prophetic, somebody laying hands on you, or you doing this, doing that, and this occurs. The reason why is because there is something in the understanding of how can I say this? If I said to you, there's something that you have to do, then it will make it none and void. But if I teach you and give you the principles, give you the understanding that now that you're in Christ, you can actually make these steps, and these steps you'll be right instructions, the right spiritual, godly instruction, if you take the step, it's not that you're taking the step first. You can't take the step first. God reveals the step first. He reveals the step first and he guides you. So if I say take the first step, I'm letting you know that God is guiding you, is leading you. This is where all the divine connection dwells. This is where every last connection that is concerning God's purpose and will in your life dwells. It does not dwell in the mind of man. It does not dwell in the mind of women. It does not dwell in the mind of people. The mind of people, the mind of anyone cannot comprehend the ways of God. I love what Jesus said about the Lord when it comes down to the ways of God. He always said that, I can do nothing of myself. That is revealing, you got to understand this now, that is revealing the ways of God. I can do nothing of myself. He's not saying that is to bring himself low or to cut himself off or to make it seem like he's crazy or stupid or something like that. He's revealing to you the nature. He's revealing to you the new nature. He's revealing to you where that the physical has no clue. So when he says that I can do nothing of myself, he's telling, just think about it. He's saying self. I can do nothing of myself. So if he can do nothing of himself, what is he revealing? He's revealing that something is happening. Something is happening with itself. Something is happening. Something is happening with himself. If he can't do it himself, what is happening with him? He's revealing to you a secret, a power that you cannot know by human reason. You cannot dissect it. You cannot use an encyclopedia or a dictionary. You cannot receive it like that. This is something that God reveals. But if you have died with Christ and risen with Christ, well then this is the step that the Spirit is leading. This is what you need to know. The Spirit leads according to the desires of God. Now, if you notice something, the Bible reveals that the nature of God is in you. When you think about nature, what do you think about what nature is? Nature is a life force that has desires, which means accomplishments. So that means that's a desire. So when you begin to desire to be righteous, and God is righteous, and God desires you to be righteous, when God desires something, it's done. So when you begin to desire, you're desiring it from the nature that is in you, that God has put in you. You're desiring from a spiritual nature that is in you, a powerful nature of God that is in you. You're desiring from that nature that is in you. Just think about that. The nature of God is righteousness. It desires to fulfill your life, fulfill everything according to the internal of your life and the external of your life. God's word is spirit and it became flesh, which means it has power in the spirit and in the flesh. This is so powerful. I want you to meditate on this here. power of divine connection by the power of God. This is so powerful.